E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6-Minute Webinar.com. And the 6-Minute Webinar is the unique program. It's an application, actually, that helps you design your specific presentation. And let me tell you what, it's a great way to get your message across to your ideal client within 6 minutes or less with a call to action. There's nothing like it on planet Earth. I've used it many times, and when I want to give a talk or presentation, I will, rather than start out, this is who I am, this is my, my credentials, all that stuff. I was on a summit over in India, and the King of Oman was a guest of honor, and I just simply started out by saying, ladies and gentlemen, during my presentation today, I'm going to share with you 3 proven ways that you can get your community involved to make your community a better place to live. And see, that is the proper thing you want to do. You want to be able to really draw people in and to what you're going to say. And the 6-Minute Webinar will help you on that. And let me just humbly say that if you'd like some information on the 6-Minute Webinar, or as a complimentary gift you'd like for one of us to walk you through your own 6-Minute Webinar, let me know. I'll do it. Normally we charge for that, but today, we're talking about wonderful things today, like dogs and all that. And I am so happy to be here. And because pets are something that we love, they bring joy and jubilee in our life. And, I tell the world, I've said this many times, those of you folks that follow the show here in TV land, you've heard me say probably 100 times, but it's so true. What a wonderful world this world would be if everyone had the heart of a dog. I mean, a dog, it's unconventional love. I mean, I don't care who you are, what status you have in the world, whether you're rich or poor, good looking or not so blessed in that particular area like me. But really, unconditional love. And I've known one person in my life that's all they had was a dog that showed them any type of love in their life. And that is something that we all crave. It really is. We can't live without it. We're just social creatures. And, I tell people I was very blessed growing up in North Carolina on a farm. What we were rich in were the things that money could not buy, with family and friends and that sort of thing. And I tell people, which is true, it sounds like a joke. I didn't know we were poor till we went to town. But that's just the way, my world turned. And, between the two, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. I really wouldn't. And today, pets we love. Oh, my goodness gracious. We got a young lady here. And I got to give a shout out for a couple other things before I do. We're also brought to you by Mr. Bill Heinrich's book, a good friend of mine, The 7 Levels of Truth. Bill and I, we do radio shows together. And together, we've gotten over 6 million downloads on our radio show. And I tell Bill it's all his fault, And what brought us together today with this lovely young lady, she goes by Mama Mo, but I can't call a young lady Mama or something like that. If you heard of respecting your elders, I got to respect my young ones. She's a lot younger than I am. And we were brought together by Austin J. Haynes and Dr. George Grant in a book called Turn Your Health, your Health Turnaround Story. I'm trying to read backwards and go off of memory, so that's an automatic train wreck for me. But Mama Mo and me and I think about 9 other authors are in this book, and that's how we got to know each other. We've been talking about let me bring her on. Let me say hello to her. Here she is. Hey, young lady,
Hel-
how you doing?
Hello. Good. How are you? It's so nice to see your smiling face.
Thank you. It's a plum pleasure to be here. I found out something I thought was kind of funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's weird. It'd probably be a better word. People are asking me if I'm going to do anything special on my what do they call it, heartversity, heart anniversary, whatever it is, heartiversary. And at first I said,
Heartiverse.
"What are you talking about?" It was on Halloween night last year at midnight. I had a heart attack and open heart surgery. Very blessed, to be honest with you. I'm very grateful that it happened. I'm glad I had the open heart surgery and the bypasses because I had the widowmaker. That's a life-threatening situation. So to be able to just have a mild heart attack and get that corrected, yes, I'm very, very thankful. But what I found out, I was talking to my sister-in-law about my brother because I knew he had a heart attack back in 2012. He had a heart attack on Halloween too. I find humor in that. So I told my family, I says, this is not a family tradition. This is dying with me. I'm taking this one out. But, I knew he had a heart attack, but it never ding donged on me. It was Halloween. I just never, it shows you how smart
What
I
an
am or how much,
unusual
yeah,
circumstance. Like
yeah.
that is that's a bit bizarre.
It really, truly is. And, I just want you to share a little bit about who you are because reading about you in this book here, you are one super duper lady. I mean,
Oh
ladies
my
and gentlemen,
goodness.
this young lady, she's got a backbone of, titanium. And I really admire your journey because what you went through and how you've, your love for dogs. I mean, oh my goodness. That's
Oh,
just
well, like you said, there's nothing like the love of a dog. And
right.
to be honest with you, for those of you who don't know me, my real name is Monique. I'm better known
Hmm.
as Mama Mo. I'm
Hmm.
canine nutritionist to the stars. I'm a lover of nature, a lover of animals, plant medicine, and
Hmm.
two-time cancer survivor. So been through
Yes.
a lot of things in my life. But my love is comes from our dogs. So
Hmm.
we also own Brandy the Pit Bull from the Quentin Tarantino's newest movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. My husband and I are breeders, trainers,
Hmm.
and advocates for American Pit Bull Terriers. And
Mm.
so, the love of dogs really started with my husband before I met him. He grew up outside of Philly, came from a rough childhood, and he
Hmm.
always, like you said, found the love of the dog. It was
Yeah.
undeniable. And he knew that he needed to bring awareness to how
Hmm.
special these dogs really were. And that's what he's done. That's what his passion in life has been over all of these years, is showing a different side of these dogs, showing
Hmm.
how lovable they are, how passionate they
Yes.
are, and how willing they are to give their life for the protection, for protection wise. And
Hmm.
so, that all stemmed down into my health journey.
Hmm.
So if I'm going to heal myself and dive into healing, myself after cancer and the I have
Mm.
Hashimoto's, it's just kind of your world kind of falls apart a little bit after you deal with
Hmm.
some serious health issues. And, I love myself enough, but I also love my dogs. So I want to give my dogs
Mm.
the best life that they can. And so that led into me creating Mama Mo, my canine nutrition line, my
Hmm.
raw diet line, and just making sure that my dogs have the best life possible because they deserve it. Because I know at the end of the day that before anybody else, my dogs would give their life for me. And I know that, and I do
Hmm.
not doubt that with a shadow, and they deserve the best. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love stories where I see people working with dogs. Like there was a program there in Texas here for a while. I don't know if it's still going on or not. It should be going on all over the United States where they would take prisoners and have them, working with horses and other animals. And it really does help them. It really, truly does.
Absolutely.
It connects them with what's important in life.
It
Because like I tell
does.
people, back many years ago, I hate to admit it, but the truth of it is, we had my manufacturing business. I did business with big companies, and I remember Alcoa was one of the companies I lined the 12-mile long chute out at Alcoa there, the Rockdale mine, the Three Oaks mine, And I'm telling you, I used to tell, this is how smart I was, Mom. I used to tell people, I'd get up early and I work late and I work on weekends all for the same amount of money. And I think, oh man, they saw you coming. I mean, you couldn't pay me to do something like that, but I was so dedicated to my life that I just got caught up into it. And you know, one of the things that really helped me along the way was the love of an animal, the dog. And I had a blue healer, and I had to have surgery one time. And I was laying there on the couch, and he came up, he sniffed my ear, and he sniffed down my body, and he sniffed in my abdomen because I had a hernia repair, and not painful, but you know, limits you for a little while. And he came back up, and he licked the side of my face and laid down beside me like everything's all right. And it's just, you know, that's the kind of love that money cannot buy. And my point where I was going to about doing all this work and all that, I was after things. Got to make money. You know, got to have this, got to have that. And, you know, shoot. I mean, the things that's really important in life, ladies and gentlemen, is something that no thief can break in and steal it from you. That's the love of family, friends, your dogs, who love you. My goodness gracious. I tell you, when I lost that particular boy, my boy there, Sammy, I mean, a friend of mine called me and says, how you doing? I said, well, I'm doing pretty good. I said, almost chopped my toe off. It's kind of hard to dig a grave with tears in your eyes. You know what I mean? And because it really stabbed me like a knife because I lost him to pneumonia. But the good news of it is, in my research, there are paw prints in heaven.
Yes.
People worry about, oh, is my beloved pet going to be there? I got news for you, and I'm serious about this. This is not an opinion because I did research on this. You better go look in the mirror. That's the person you need to worry about.
Yeah.
Because the dog is just, can't say enough about our beloved pets. But
no, you can't.
You mentioned about pit bulls. If I may interject this right quick, a lot of people do not realize that growing up, I was a kid in the 50s and an overly intelligent teenager in the 60s. Finally grew out of that slowly. But anyway, the dogs, we used to watch the Little Rascals, our gang.
Oh, yes.
Frankie's dog Petey was a pit bull. A lot of people don't know that. And I think he had a circle around the right eye, if I remember correctly, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wanted a dog like Petey.
Was Petey a pit bull though?
He was American Pit Bull Terrier. Yeah.
He was a pit bull.
That's what it says.
He was American Pit Bull Terrier. He was. I don't know. You know what? I was thinking, what's the other dog with the patch? That Oh, it's going to drive me nuts now. I'll remember it. And he's got a patch on his eye. It looks like the Target dog. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What kind of dog is that? That's what I was thinking. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Petey was. And they painted the circle around his eyes, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think it was painted on one eye and he had the dark spot on the other eye is what it was.
It was around his right eye, if I remember correctly. Because I remember in school, one of my buddies wound up with a ring around his eye. We called him Petey. You know,
that's hilarious.
We were just joking with him, you know. But yeah, it's amazing because dogs really are a true reflection of you. That's the way I look at it. Growing up in when it comes to cats, that's a different animal. I tell people honestly, every female cat that I've had, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, they take one look at me. They could just be just a little kitten like this. They take one look at me and say, this guy's I have been trained a couple of days. And that's exactly what happens. I become their, I get up in the morning like little Dixie. She's the breed of cat she is a K-O-R-A-T, Karat. And I call her a K-rat. That's what do you want, little K-rat? And she's going to holler at me until I give her treats because you can make your coffee later. This is treat time for me. Let's get our things in order here.
All about me. Cats are all about me.
Yeah, they really are. And then dogs, of course, I mean, they just, they're all about you. They really are. Let's hear some more about your pit bulls and how long have you guys been raising the red pit bulls?
My husband and I have been married for 11 years.
Hmm.
But he had the dogs before I came around.
Hmm.
And so like that was something that I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like I heard all the stigmas.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I was nervous at first when I started dating my husband because I
Hmm.
was like, I don't know, this guy raises pit bulls like and now I'm the
Yeah.
crazy pit bull lady,
Yeah.
because you don't know what to believe. And I think that that's a lesson in life as
Hmm.
well,
Yeah.
not to judge or not to
Right.
take the words of, social media or whatever it may be, like to learn for yourself. And once I started dating my husband, he's been doing it for over 20 years. He's been in love with these dogs. They've been a part of our lives since the moment, like it was,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you get to the point too, like where it's like, joking around. I'm like, you love those dogs more than you love me,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're just, it's just, they sleep in my bed. I
Oh
have to
yeah.
share my bed with my
Oh
dogs
yeah.
and my
Yeah.
husband. So we have a big California king size bed.
Hmm.
Actually, Sayori is sleeping.
Hmm.
Our famous. She's behind
Oh
me back
yeah.
there, all curled
Hmm.
up as sweet as she can be. And it, there's nothing better. So I just got home from a girls trip. I came home and there's nothing better than greeting at the door. No dogs, nobody on the earth misses you when you're gone like your
Hmm.
dogs miss you. I
Oh
come in
yeah.
the door, they're excited, their tails are wagging, their butts are going, they can't contain yourself. That is such an incredible feeling when you walk in
Oh
the
yeah.
door.
Yeah.
They love you. They love you unconditionally. You could
Hmm.
drop them off and come back and they no matter what happened when you left, you could have been yelling at them before you left, and you come home
Oh
and they're
yeah.
happy to see you. They're
Oh
wagging
yeah.
their tail. The forgiveness of a dog
Ooh.
and
Yeah.
in the forgiveness of the love of a
Mm.
dog is unreal. They don't care what you look like. They don't care
Mm-mm.
what you've done. They don't care
Mm-mm.
what you've done to them. They're going to continue to come back to you with their tails wagging, full
Mm.
of love, unconditional love. And then not only that, there's a
Oh
connection when you have a dog. If
yes.
I'm having a bad day or, when I was going through treatment or I've had surgery, they instinctively know, and they're
Hmm.
gentle and they're loving and they're concerned, and you can
Mm.
feel it and you can see it in their eyes, and they're a lot like human beings. They're like
Yeah.
a lot, they're dogs,
Hmm.
but they're a lot like human beings, and they're just so selfless.
Yeah.
Canines are selfless.
Oh yeah. They're a lot like human beings should be. If I could add that,
Yes.
should be.
Yes.
And you were talking about that unconditional love, and I'm just going to share very briefly when I was in the hospital, and people asked me how I felt after I went in for stents on that Monday after having the heart attack that weekend, and they told me I didn't need, the stents wouldn't work, had to have open heart surgery, had to put me in ICU. I had the Widowmaker, got 99% blockage here and, all this stuff. And they said, how'd you feel? Did it scare you? And I said, no, I was kind of frustrated because after being in the hospital the whole weekend, I mean, being hooked up to all these tubes and stuff and needles. And of course, the people that come in and do the blood test, they take the blood out of the back of your hands every 6 hours, and they will actually wake you up when they do that if you're asleep. They won't let you fudge and miss out on that fun. But my point being, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going with this long, boring story, is that I just said, I was kind of frustrated. I said, Lord, it's in your hands. If the surgery goes well, I go home. If it doesn't go well, I go home. And then immediately I was just encapsulated in this love. And the best way I can describe, and I understood everything completely from the alpha to the omega. The best way I can explain that, it's kind of like if you walk into a dark room, you turn on the light, and the light fills the room instantly. I understood everything instantly. And I knew the surgery would go well, my recovery would go well. That's exactly what happened. But I never felt so much love in my life. And all the things that I'd done in this life that I'd said I'm sorry for, repented of, it wasn't anywhere in that horizon, nowhere in sight. It was like the dust you left on a dusty road 2 years ago. It's gone. But the best way, too, I can describe this, and this is exactly what I felt. We're all familiar with being here on planet Earth, physical air, move our hands, feel air, and breathe it and all that. In that realm that I was in for about 15 seconds, I was inhaling love. It was an unconditional love. It was just, and that's when, of course, now I'm still aware of what Dr. Gray, the cardiologist, is saying there to me in the Baylor Scott and White Hospital there in College Station. He's talking about the word cabbage, and I'm going like, cabbage, what's that? That's the acronym for coronary artery bypass grafting. And then he says, yeah, they're going to, take the veins out of your leg, and they're going to go below the bypass, below the blockage, come back in above it. That's why they call it the bypass. I said, I popped off and I said, hey, that's great. He looked at me like, did somebody shut the oxygen off to your head? But see, what went through my mind, I was coming from a very safe place. I don't have to take any rejection drugs for 2 years. I said, hey, wait a minute, doc. I hadn't mentally, checked out and made the big escape here. I said, I don't have to take any rejection drugs. He said, that's right. I said, that's why I said that's great. Because anytime you can, avoid taking drugs, that's a plus. But the point of it is, as Monique was talking about, the unconditional love. Yeah, that's what we can expect. And that's what dogs, they have that now. We should take a lesson from them. My goodness gracious. I mean, it's,
Yes.
the feeling
if the
of
world
love.
were just like if we could love and forgive
Mhm.
and be as accepting as
Yes,
dogs
ma'am.
are. Because
Yes,
they
ma'am.
do. They accept you authentically as you are, no matter. I could come to my dog with the worst morning breath, been crying for days, the worst
Mhm.
mess, and all they want to do is curl up in your lap and just love me, just pet me, let me be there
Oh,
next to
yeah.
you. I don't care what you look like, what you've been
Yeah.
through, just let me be here for you. And if
Yeah.
we could learn that, if we
Yeah.
could learn that authentic love and
Mhm.
that to live from that place of pure love
Mm.
like dogs do, this would be, and we
Mm.
wouldn't have all the problems that we do today.
Oh, ain't that
And
the truth?
they're so
Mhm.
much better than we are. I always say
Oh,
that,
yeah.
people come to me and they're like, what it's like to have famous dog, Quentin Tarantino, walk the red carpet, do all of these things. And I'm like, my dog is so much cooler than I am. I could do a million interviews. I could do whatever, but my dog,
Mhm.
no matter what, my dog doesn't know she's famous. Neither
Mhm.
Sayori nor Cerberus know that they're like
Mhm.
on movie screens, and they don't know.
Right.
They just know the love that they have, and they do want to be the best version of themselves that they can
Mhm.
possibly be, and want to be loved and respected. And
Mhm.
we should live like that. We should
Oh,
live
yeah.
like that. Like they're famous. They, get to all these, articles and all this stuff, and they don't care because that's
Mm-mm.
not what life is about for them. It's about,
Yeah.
being loved, coming home, snuggling with my owners, and
Mhm.
living the best life that they can be. We can learn a lot from that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not about our social status
Mm-mm.
or what we've been in the limelight or, all the money that we make in the world. It's about who we show up as each and every
Mm.
single day. And dogs show up no matter where they are in life, authentically in who they are, no matter
Mhm.
what. They don't change, they don't vary. Life happens, they come, they take it, and they just keep going and loving
Mhm.
and forgiving and being awesome and
Mhm.
just selfless. And we can learn a lot from that.
Yes, we can, because they have the intelligence to know that the real them is going to show up every day. And, you think about us in our lives and how many times in my life, I'll be honest, how many times in my life that I didn't want the real me to show up. I'd pretend to, be a little nicer than I was, to be honest with you about. And I've changed over the years. I mean, age 74, you hope eventually you'd start learning something, son. It's like growing up, I remember my poor dad used to look at me and sometimes he'd say, son, exactly when that seemed like a good idea to you. And the most famous comment I heard him say, because of all the idiotic things me and my friends used to do, he said, son, that looks like a good way to me for you to skin your ignorance. And we usually would, something would go wrong and something would go this way and we go the other way and wind up, and I remember the time we all got in the car, I got a car hood. We were going down this big hill. It snowed and we forgot there was a creek down there. And we all went in the creek. So that's a good classic example of how we can skin our ignorance, No brakes, no steering wheel, into the creek we went, And but when it comes to, dogs, I mean, they're just so authentic. And your dogs, I'm trying to remember your dogs are. Please give the website where your dogs are, or where you keep them. That's
DelawareRedPitBulls.com.
DelawareRedPitBulls.com. And I
Yes.
love what you guys say. When you go there and you're thinking about getting a pit bull, you're going to be interviewed more so if you were dating their daughter and going to ask them daughter for marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
That is very, very true.
Yeah, because they know that, it takes a pit bull, has to have a certain type of home environment and structure.
Yep.
To be able to get the full benefit of what the dog can bring. And, if you're into teacup poodles, you might want to, they're in other words, I don't care how much money you got. If you show up there and you say, "Hey, how much money you want for this dog?" You're in a GNC status. And
yeah,
you know what a GNC status is?
No.
That you got nothing coming. You got nothing coming, so just go. That's the best way to say it.
We are very, very particular about who our dogs go to.
Yeah.
Not only is there an application process, my husband will interview you on the phone. And not only that, but I don't care where you are in this world, we hand deliver Matt and I hand deliver. We also have, our children and some other people that delivery services as well. But I want to see your home. I want to know what kind of person you are. We do background checks. You're going to give us your driver's license. I'm going to know where you live, and I want to know where my dog is. And part of the contract is that you give us updates. Like, it's not, so our philosophy is they're not just dogs. It's a way of life. You become part of the DRP family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we are proud to have you as the owner, as the parents, the puppy parents to the dog that you get. And we're here for the life of it. We don't go, wow, most breeders, you buy a dog, see you later, whatever. No, if you ever have any issues, we don't care if it's a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. You have a question, you have an issue, it's 2:00 in the morning. We answer all of our phone calls. We are here for you for the life of the dog, because those are like our children. They really are. Like, they mean everything to us. And I think that it's super important to screen and make sure that the dog, we have what we call pepples, and then we have working dogs. We have dogs that, military that, work with the police. We have also dogs that go into hospitals, children's hospitals, as support dogs. We have dogs that hang with your grandmother and small children. We have dogs that hunt boar down in Florida. We have a functioning dog, but we want to make sure that a working dog who's going to be working for the military isn't going to get into a home where, it's a family with small children. It's a different type of mindset. And so there's a screening process that goes in play, because it's not about, a lot of people, we get a lot of phone calls and they're like, oh, I want, the white dog, or the one with the white with the red spots, and they're looking for a particular look. We very rarely do we get somebody that's like, what is the health? What is the history of the dog? We have their great grandparents that we can trace it back to know all the personalities, the bloodlines, what to watch out for. Health is number one. How you want to get a dog, we want to make sure that the dog that you're getting is healthy, and you should want that too. And so people don't know that there's like an application process, and like you said, like dating my daughter, there is an application process. Check. And if you don't, I don't care how much money you have. You could offer me $1 million and I'm not giving you my dog. Like, it's just not going to happen. So
she'll just say in that she'll just say in that broken Spanish, el mucho, el hadioso, and goodbye.
El mucho, hadioso,
I'm reading. I'd like to read this a little bit, share this a little bit, if I may, here out of the book.
Absolutely.
Your portion here. And I really love this. This really gives a true snapshot of Monique. And she says, I'm better known as Mama Mo, and nothing is better than being a mom, as a caretaker by nature, being known as mother of dogs, mother of plants, and of course, mother to my wild and free offsprings. It's the greatest gift on earth. And you're also an herb practitioner, canine nutritionist, raw diet enthusiast, and you're happy living on the coast of Maryland with you and your husband, Matt. Yeah. And When it comes to feeding dogs a raw diet, you know how some of us people are. Let's say, how do I normally say that? The ignorant and the undereducated, which I've got a degree in both. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that right now. But sometimes we think our little puppy, we got to prepare the food the same way that we eat it. But that's I want you to explain with us or share with us about raw
Okay, so
food.
I am going to do it as basic as I possibly can. Us as human
Okay.
beings, we want to humanize our animals, which is common. There are children, we want to love them, we want to do what's best for them, but we're not educated enough to do what is best for them. So I always tell people, if humans were to die tomorrow, say we had a pandemic and all of the human beings were to die tomorrow, dogs would go back to their natural ways. And what do in their natural environment? They're going to hunt down animals. They're going to eat the gut first, and they're going to get the organs, the meat, the bones, like all of those things that we think is just so crazy because we want
Hmm.
to look at it from a humanistic perspective. So
Right.
those dogs are going to do that. So what ends up happening is just within the last 100 years or so, have we introduced kibble into our dog's diet. And because it
Hmm.
would be like the equivalent of us going and eating McDonald's Big Mac every day of our lives, the same food, the same nutrition, the same, can you survive off of that? Probably. Is it what's best for you? Probably not. And so,
Hmm.
us as human beings, we buy expensive dog food, we do all of these things, but we forget about what is natural for our animals. And so, that
Hmm.
is where the raw diet comes in. So, the things that we do is, we dehydrate it. If you actually did research on what is in kibble and what they allow into kibble, it would make your stomach churn, like absolutely. But we're in a society where don't ask, don't tell. We just want
Hmm.
to be ignorant and naive, and because then we aren't responsible for that. And so raw diet is super. We have a lot of dogs you see now with an increase in cancer, skin
Yes.
issues, yeast. You see dogs licking their paws, and just like us
Yeah.
human beings, everything starts in the gut. So
Hmm.
our hormones, even us as human beings. So I'm an herbal practitioner. I really, really study gut health. I have hormone issues. I have this little gnat that keeps flying in front of my face. But dogs are the same way. Everything health wise starts in their gut, your gut
Yes.
biome. And so if your gut is unhealthy, your body is going to be unhealthy. And so
Hmm.
what ends up happening is we want to treat the symptom and not the core issue. So when we go to the vet and we're like, hey, my dog is like super smelly, smells like corn chips, live in their hands, they have, these growths all over their bodies, all of these things, we want to
Hmm.
cure those sorts of issues. But what we're not doing is the first question I always ask anybody that comes to me is, what are you feeding your dog? Because what
Hmm.
you're feeding dog is a core reflection of what's coming out in those symptoms, the anxiety,
Hmm.
the nervousness, the yeasty, issues. And I've noticed that 9 times out of 10, if you can heal the gut, you can heal the issue. And so it really comes back to, we need to get back to basics and
Hmm.
really realize that we're doing our canines a disadvantage by feeding them a kibble diet. And here's another thing. We want to cook dogs' food. I don't know anywhere in the wild where a dog is cooking their food. They doesn't need to be cooked. People think I'm crazy. They're like, give them raw chicken with the bone. Everything, you're not supposed to give them the bone. The raw bone is the most, one of the organ meat and the raw bone that's in it is one of the most important things that we can do for our dog's nutrition. It carries the marrow in it. It carries all the immunity, all of the health
Mm.
things that they need. The meat to bone ratio is super important into a dog's diet. And
Yeah.
so we want to look at it from a humanistic point of view, but we need to treat our dogs as they are. They're dogs at the end of the
Yeah.
day, as much as we love them, as much as we
Mhm.
want what's best for them. And if you really do care about them, and it's simple things that we can add to their diet, like it's not just about the raw meat and the raw organ meat too. What are they going to do for vegetables and fruits? They're going to dig up
Mm.
root vegetables, sweet potatoes, eat berries off of the trees,
Mm.
fruit that drops from the trees in the
Yeah.
wild. And so we need to think about it from that perspective. We were like, oh, salmonella. I'm sorry, but a dog in the wild is not worried about salmonella. They're eating
Mm-mm.
rotten carcass.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
bodies are built differently. different. Their enzymes that they have in their body and their gut tissue is different.
Mhm.
And so, you're not, you think you're doing something bad, but in all reality, feeding them from a can and feeding them what's in that bag is not what's in the best interest for your dog.
Mm-mm.
And so I took it upon myself, doing the research that I did, and 20 plus years of experience with these dogs, it's created a formula. We have different formulas I created. I helped create and formulate Olympic Canine, which is our raw food diet that we, give to our dogs, and we really, really, the only way, one of the things in our contract is the only way that we guarantee the health of our dog is if you have them on a raw diet. I'm not guarantee you 10 years from now, 5 years from now, when you come to me telling me you got all these health issues and you've been feeding them, you can feed them $100 bag of kibble. It's still kibble at the end of the day. It's
Mhm.
still been processed. It still has
Yeah.
preservatives. It doesn't have the enzymes, the things that it needs for a proper nutrition for your dog. And so
Mhm.
we won't guarantee it. It doesn't have to be our raw diet. I can teach you anything that you want to know about how to give your dog a balanced
Mhm.
meal, depending on species specific.
Right.
Small dog, large dog, a little teacup poodle isn't going to eat the same thing as my giant pit bull. You know what I mean? So there's different things in different ratios. It's not
Mhm.
the same for everybody. But, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you, guide you for the life of your dog.
Mhm.
We get phone calls all the time. It's not whether or not you buy a dog from us. We want you to be as well informed as you possibly can, because we
Mm.
care about all dogs. It's not just our dogs or the dogs that come off of our property. It's all dogs. We want
Oh,
you to
yeah.
have their dog to have the best life, because,
Mhm.
there's that relationship that's there. They're a family member. I could never forgive myself if I didn't give people the education that I know, because that's that you got kids growing up with these dogs. 10 plus years of your life is spent with this animal,
Oh,
sharing
yeah.
memories, being in your home, Christmases, everything else that you do. And to have something detrimental like cancer or a health
Mhm.
issue that could have been avoided in the long run,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't live with myself as a person if I didn't educate
Sure.
people on the importance of raw diet. So
Mhm.
I appreciate you bringing that that
Oh,
topic to
yeah.
the surface.
It really is because when you, recently I did a research on some things. It's kind of like the old proverb, after my heart problem and all that. Sometimes where you stand depends on where you've been forced to sit, And so I did some research on it. And after World War One, ladies and gentlemen, people started to use more processed foods. That's when processed foods were starting to get introduced as a convenient, easy way rather than making meals from scratch. And then what's interesting is that as the increase of processed foods increased, heart disease ran right along with it.
Mhm.
And going on what Monique was saying there, excuse me, when it comes to feeding your dogs cornmeal and stuff like that, I remember hearing some guy, he was really good, but he was a country boy, and I really connected with him. He says, have you ever heard a rancher complain about the coyotes out there chewing on his ears of corn? and
No.
and you won't. And that was his point. Cornmeal is good for pigs and people, but it's not good for dogs. It really isn't. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible filler. And also, too, I'd like to go into this, if I may. Dogs they metabolize and process raw food much better than they do this processed food. And if you got a big dog in a small yard, that could come in beneficial, you might say, a little handy.
So, well, I always tell people too, you will immediately notice a difference in their stools. And we're
Yes.
going to talk about this because it's a weird thing to talk about, but it's the honest truth. They will
Yeah.
process it and it'll be cleaner and it doesn't stink as
Hmm.
much. I'm not going to say it's like roses or anything like that,
Right.
because it's waste removed from your body. But
Hmm.
what it does for your digestive tract and what it does
Mm.
for the animals, you are going to notice a huge difference. It's going to be less waste. It's not going to smell nearly as bad, and it's going to be a lot cleaner. You're going to notice a higher
Hmm.
energy in your dog. It's just all around, just because that's what they're made. That's what
Yeah.
their bodies are naturally made to
Mhm.
process.
And it's kind of like a human too, because if you're just eating carbohydrates and all that, you're going to need more to fill up the furnace because you're burning it up. Or it's,
Hmm.
but when you feed your dogs properly, proper diet, and I'm not a subject matter expert in it like Monique is, but when you feed them a proper diet, I imagine that less is more filling and more sustainable.
You
And
feed less, which is crazy too. And here's another thing: when you feed your dog, here we go back to wanting to treat our dogs as if they're humans again. They don't eat 3 meals a day. In the wild too, people think I'm crazy when I say this, but in the wild, what does a dog do? It eats a one large meal, it gets it full, and it fasts for a day or two.
yeah,
And that's the thing, is we want to feed our
that's
dogs
right.
so much more. We want to feed them 3 meals a day. So with a raw diet, you're going to feed them less than you would with kibble. It's going to be
Hmm.
less filler. Their body's going to process it naturally. There's going to be less waste, and they're going to be healthier,
Hmm.
leaner, have more energy, and it's just going to be a happier, healthier, canine life.
Yeah,
And that's what we want for our pets, is
yeah.
them to be happy and healthy.
I remember when I changed my diet, and I had changed it, years ago a little bit, but not as good as I, I'm on it now. But when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, you get hungry, and it's really a mixed signal because really for us as humans, if you're hungry, chances are you're thirsty. And if you drink water, that will squelch it. But I mean, like one time my wife called me and she was in Tucson with her, staying with her mom after her mom's in the hospital. And she had made these beautiful chocolate chip cookies. I mean, you look at them, you drew like a hound dog at a picnic. You know what I mean?
My
And
foster mom has it. She makes sure. It's funny you say
oh,
chocolate chip cookies, because every time I go, and then I
mm,
have to hide them. I like hide them in
oh
my
yeah,
underwear drawer, wherever. Like
yeah,
just I have to hide my cookies because the rest of my family. But it's one of those things where I go
oh
home and you're
yeah,
like, chocolate chip cookies. I'm like, no, I
yeah,
will. Like, I'm gonna hurt somebody if they eat my
yeah.
chocolate.
There you go. And now that's intelligence, there, ladies and gentlemen. That's intelligence. And she called me and she says, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing fine." And she says, "What'd you have for breakfast?" I said, "Well, I really didn't eat breakfast. I wasn't that hungry." She says, "Oh," I said, "No." I said, "I just, had a couple of your chocolate chip cookies and some coffee." Cookies and coffee? That's not. I'm going like, well, next time I'm going to fudge and tell a lie then, because I don't want to do any hard time in the hacienda when she comes home.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, it's just, but at the time being a guy, it seemed like the most brilliant idea on planet Earth. You get the coffee cup and you look, there's the chocolate chip cookies. I mean, this is not hard, okay?
I don't know many of us that can pass that up.
Oh man, I tell you, it seemed like the most brilliant idea I had the whole day that day. But
But
when
your
it
wife loved
comes,
you enough to be like, "Hey, that is not a healthy breakfast. We need to do
yeah,
something about this."
I kind of knew that, but every now and you figure, well, I've got an ace in my pocket. I'm good for a curve here. I can get by. But then, it's just like, my wisdom, I call it my wisdom, my way of thinking. I always thought my blood pressure is good, my cholesterol levels is good. I wouldn't. My heart's got to be good. And then I found out the hard way that is not true. And when I fell that night with a heart attack, my safety net that I thought I had, everything's good, it had a big hole in it. But that's the downside of when you don't take care of yourself. And even though I never really abused myself, as far as eating wrong things, I'd fudge every now and then. Sure, I mean, you gotta give the Undertaker a
You
shot at
gotta
you once in a
live a
while.
little too. We can't be
Yeah,
too strict on ourselves. We
that's
gotta
right.
live like I even with my dogs, like I'm cooking. I am known, my love language is cooking. I love to cook for my family. I love
Hmm.
to travel and learn
Hmm.
about new
Oh
foods.
yeah.
And so where do you think the dogs are when I'm cooking? I'm like have to shuffle my feet in the kitchen as I'm cooking, because every little morsel. But just like children, just
Hmm.
like us, like everybody, we got to give ourselves a little bit of slack. We can't be
There
too
you
strict
go.
on ourselves. It's
Oh
okay to
yeah.
have a little bit of sugar. It's okay to have a chocolate chip cookie every now and then. And it's
Oh
okay to
yeah.
spoil your dogs with a little bit of table food every now and then. Shh, don't
Oh
tell my
yeah.
husband I said
Yeah.
that. But it's the truth. We can't be too
Mhm.
hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and just like
Really.
with our dogs, like our dogs are spoiled rotten. Like they
Oh
they
yeah.
absolutely are. They're
Oh, yeah.
so spoiled. They live
Mm.
better lives than most humans.
Oh, yeah. And what gets me too is people will spend money on their dogs for the will on themselves.
Yes.
It's just amazing how that works. But when it comes
And
to,
I also see too where in helping individuals with their canines, it
mhm.
rewires their brain for themselves, because canines and humans,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
mammals. We're a lot
Yeah.
alike. And so when you
Mhm.
start healing and they start healing, hearing the things, because they're more willing to listen to advice about their dog than if I was to give them advice about their own life. But it's
Mm.
applicable in both
Mm.
scenarios. The things that we do for our dogs because we love them and because we want
Right.
them to be healthy and because we want them to live their best lives are the same things that we would do for ourselves. We
Amen.
want to heal, our traumas. We want to heal our gut issues. We want to live the best life that we can. And so you have that correlation too when, we start healing your dog's issues and you come to me and I start telling you how to live to help your dog live a healthy lifestyle.
Mhm.
They start to click and a little thing goes off in their brain and they're like, I
Mhm.
wonder if I could do that for myself,
Oh,
because we
yeah.
look at those that we love before we look at ourselves. And so,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that correlation, that connection that's there too.
Mhm. It's a good way of bridging the gap because you're talking about something that they have a genuine love for. And I'd like to say this, if I may, before I forget. To be honest with you, when it comes to love, we need to love ourselves first. Then we can love others because you can't give somebody something you don't have yourself. And most importantly, I've been guilty of this for many, many, many years. Still working on it, as a matter of fact. Learn how to love yourself enough to forgive yourself for the dumb things that you do or the things
Yes.
that you don't get do, because I can't tell you how long, and I'm still struggling with it. I'd make my little list of things I got to do, right? And at the end of the day, with all that I've got to do, I do 6 shows a week, ladies and gentlemen. And rather than being grateful, being smart enough to be grateful, okay, of the things I got done, I stare at the things that I didn't get
You
done.
didn't do.
And I beat myself up, and then, I don't know, a few years ago, I kind of like realized, hey, don't worry about it, Jim, because so far no one's broken in here and stolen it and done it for you. So it'll be here tomorrow, brother. It won't
I
let you
think
down.
we were just talking about this on Austin's show too. Like, we terrorize
Hmm.
ourselves. We
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
patience with ourselves.
Hmm.
We're our worst critics,
Hmm.
and I think that goes back to a lot of issues, trauma issues that we have within ourselves. And we're
Yeah.
continually
Mhm.
learning to be the best version of ourselves. And
Yeah.
we beat ourselves up, and we can't love ourselves, just like like the old saying, that you hear when you get on the airplane: put your mask on first before you put the mask on anybody else, because you can't help
Right.
anybody until you help yourself. And the same
Yeah.
thing, dogs are incredibly
Mm.
forgiving in
Mm.
nature. And so, we may beat ourselves up, but our dogs are always going to love us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
but we need to learn how to love ourselves in all stages of our lives. We
Yes.
all go through things. It's always a healing journey until the day that you pass on to the next life. You are
Hmm.
on a healing journey, and it's being
Mm.
aware of those things that hold us back and learning.
Mm.
It's a learning process, and so we need to forgive ourselves.
Mm. Yeah.
We all make stupid mistakes. We all
Oh, yeah.
aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're humans.
Yeah.
It's the human characteristic that we have, like, as
Hmm.
being humans, is we are really, really hard on ourselves, and we need
Mm.
to
Mm.
love ourselves through those times, just like our
Yeah.
dogs are going to love us no matter what. We need to love us like dogs love us.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like a friend of mine used to say. He says, hey, when you look down in the rearview mirror of the pathway of life, everybody knows you missed a couple of curves back there you should have made, but, so what?
Make a
But you know what's,
U-turn, or you go around the block and take a different
yeah,
way and get yourself
yeah.
back
Uh,
oriented and back on the path that you were on.
And what's really amazing, think about the times when you've been sad or upset about something, and who comes to your rescue? They're looking at you. They're trying to figure out how they can pull that pain or that aggravation or whatever's gnawing at you like a rat on cheese, as I like to say in country English. But notice how the dog picks up on that. and they're wanting to say,
Mhm.
"Hey, it's okay. I care about you." And I mean, dogs they read you better than you read yourself. I don't care who you are.
Yes,
And
they do. Yes, they do. And you may be able to hide it from other people or those that you love or
oh
those
yeah,
around you, but you can't hide it. They're so
mm-mm,
sensitive to energy and
yeah,
vibrations from their hearing to way their bodies receive like energy.
mm-hmm,
They are so sensitive and in tune. It's like a married couple.
mm-hmm,
Like you get married and you've been with somebody for a long time. I can look at my
right,
husband across the room and we don't have to say anything. And I know exactly what he's thinking, or it's like, it's time to go. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's that intimate connection
yeah,
that's there. And that happens with your
mm,
dog too. They
yeah,
can read you. They know when something's wrong. They know when they look at you from across the room exactly what you're thinking and
oh
what
yeah,
you're going through. And that's the gift.
yeah,
That's the gift that we get, and being able to be like, it's a gift to be a
mm,
dog parent, to be a
oh
dog
yeah,
mom, a dog dad. You know what I mean? That's the gift, is their unconditional love, them being
oh
able
yeah,
to read you, but knowing that they're never going to judge you.
oh
And it's the
yeah,
most
isn't that?
precious gift in
Yeah.
the world that anybody that you could ever have.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what I experienced in that realm of love that I was in. That the things I'd done in the past were not going to be thrown in my face, because if it's going to be thrown in your face, then that's not true love, okay? Because true love forgives and forgets. And, when you talk about how the dog can just read you and they're looking at you and they want to let you know they're there for you through thick and thin. And you talk about, you and your husband can do that. Yeah, me and my wife, we've been married. I don't know why, but that lady's put up with me for 51 years.
My
And
husband says the same thing. He's like, I don't know why
and
she puts up with me.
my family and friends tell me that she deserves a medal. And I said, for what? And they said, well, go look in the mirror and see if you can figure it out, son. But, it's just you build that closeness, and you're on the same wavelength mentally on a lot of things.
Mhm.
And it just when it comes to the dogs, goodness gracious, it just amazes me how in tune they are, how good they are at understanding you, reading you. And I used to play a joke on my blue heelers. We had two brothers. We bought one, and then the other brother went to another family, and then the lady didn't care for him because he was barking at her deer and chasing them off. And she says the dog's got to go. So they were trying to find a home for him. I says, and then my wife, Evelyn, she says, they're not going to give that dog to anybody. We're going to keep that dog here. That's Ranges and Polly's brother. Okay. Boss man made a decision. Good with me. But what's really amazing is that I would come into a room just joking around. I'd like it, and it kind of look back, and it kind of, like, okay,
Reading your
how just
facial expression.
yeah, just how short is this fuse here? Is he going to go ballistic or what? And then I'd say, hey guys, how you doing? I'm just joking with you. And then they're all happy,
And then they
happy,
wiggle.
happy. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's just, gosh, the thing I missed about Range so much is that he was my sidekick for 10 years, and I'd be ready to go somewhere. I'd look at him, you ready to go? He's ready to go. Even if he's dead
Yep.
asleep, he'd wake up ready to go, hop in that truck, and me and him go to town. I used to tease my wife. I said, he's such a handsome boy. I said, all the girls look at the dog. They didn't even know who's driving the truck. It'd be a man, woman, whatever, And she was so much good. But really, I mean, he was just to know that I know that I know, ladies and gentlemen, that I know deep down inside that one day we will all see our beloved pets. They are paw prints in heaven. And I don't care
I'm
what.
telling you,
Oh,
listen, do you know how awesome heaven's going to be with all of the dogs that have been in my
yeah.
life and that I've
Woo.
brought into others? I'm just going to have like a private island in heaven.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
going to be all dogs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All dogs.
Yeah, because people, universe is all energy, and it's expanding, exponentially. And we know that there's going to be a special place a special place for us. And the point being, I knew when I was in that realm, when I understood everything, I know how people mean, and I know they mean nice things when they say RIP when someone loses a loved one, and I understand, appreciate that. But I'm telling you, when we get up there, we're going to have a ball because we're going to be just pure energy. And I mean, it's just inhaling love all the time. My gosh.
Can you
Oh,
imagine the
oh,
pure love? No
yeah.
doubt,
The
no
agape, the
fear,
agape love. Yeah.
nothing, just the agape love. Yes, the purest
Yeah.
form of love, the agape
Yeah.
love. So it's like
Mm,
you can't even wrap your head
yeah.
around it. I think
Oh, yeah.
we get little glimpse of it in our lives and our
Oh,
animals
yeah.
and in our significant
Hmm.
others and
Hmm.
but we're not going to know that fear, those
Hmm. Oh,
insecurities,
no.
those things that hold us
Oh,
back
yeah.
in life. It's going to be that pure, authentic,
Hmm.
just love. And
Hmm. Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
And,
I
and
You
all the
can't. You
little and
can't.
all the little nonsense things that we grumble and growl about and complain about, it's not even doesn't even exist there. And our time is getting real short. We're supposed to cut off at about another minute. So otherwise, over at E360 TV, and they might send me an extra bill here, but I'll worry about that if I get it. I just tell them I know some English. But really, Mo, it's been such a wonderful privilege for me to have you on the show here. The time just flew by, girl.
It did. It did.
Mm.
It's been such a pleasure. I mean, there's
Mm.
nothing more that I love to talk about than dogs. I mean,
Oh,
come on.
yeah.
Like, what else
Mm.
is there they're incredible. Sayori's back here curled up in a ball. I was hoping she would come over, but she's still sleeping. So
Hmm.
it is what it is. But
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
to be able to share your
Hmm.
life with a
Yeah.
beautiful canine companion is the
Oh,
best
yeah.
gift that anybody could ever have. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
would suggest it. Especially, I mean, therapy dogs. I
Hmm.
see the way that it transforms
Hmm.
people's lives,
Oh,
transforms
yeah.
people's families, and
Hmm.
to have that unconditional love, that
Oh, yeah.
forgiveness, to have somebody where you feel
Hmm.
vulnerable and you can just cry and hug your
Oh,
dog.
yeah.
It's the most precious time and the most precious
Mhm.
gift that you can give. So
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We want to thank you so much for tuning in, and for all of you wonderful folks that watch us on Roku and Apple TV, and all you wonderful people in India and Indonesia and Canada and South America and my hometown. Thank you very much. But we want to thank you so much. Remember first to love yourself first, then you can love others and forgive yourself. And most importantly, treat yourself once in a while. Mo said it was okay to fudge, so we're going to go fudge a little bit. We're going to get some chocolate chip cookies. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Bye bye.
bye.